The federal government of Nigeria is grinding up for more legal battles. As Binance executive Tigran Gambaryan, who is still in the custody of the Nigerian government, has accused the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, and the Economic Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, of violating its fundamental human rights. Gambaryan, in an originating motion, sought a declaration that his detention and the seizure of his international travel passport contravened Section 35, subs 1 and 4 of the 1999 Constitution. He urged the court to order the NSA and the EFCC to release him from their custody and return his international travel passport with immediate effect. Gambaryan also sought an order of perpetual injunction, restraining the respondents and their agents from further detaining him in relation to any investigation into or demands from Binance. Also, just a week ago, the legal battle over the release of Nnamdi Kanu from prison did not come through, as he too continues to insist on his fundamental human rights violation by Nigeria's federal government. Joining us now on the morning show as we take a look at the enforcement of fundamental human rights is Dr. Monday Ubani, former chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association section on Public Interest and Development Law, NBA SPIDA. Good morning, Dr. Ubani, and thank you very much for joining us on the morning show. There were two issues there. But
thank you very much, Professor.
Yes, maybe we'll start with the first one. Gambaryan, Tigran Gambaryan, that's the Binance executive that is still in custody. He's suing the NSA and the EFCC for the enforcement of his fundamental rights under Section 35 of the 1999 Constitution. He also alleges that he and his colleague, the one that fled, that disappeared, they came to Nigeria to resolve issues that have been raised by the Nigerian government, only for both of them to be detained. So now one has disappeared. The one that is remaining is asking for his fundamental human rights to be enforced under the law, and he's also asking the Nigerian government for an apology for even detaining him in the first place. Now, what do you think of how this whole Binance issue has been handled by the state authorities, leading to a situation where one of the detained persons is now a fugitive, and the one that is still in custody is asking for an apology and for him to be released without any further delay?
Yeah, thank you, Prof. I want to start with the issue whether any person in Nigeria has a right to go to court to enforce his fundamental human right, whether our legal jurisprudence allow that in our system. And I said yes. The 1999 Constitution has elaborate provisions on the fundamental human right of any person that is a citizen or resident in Nigeria. And so at any point in time, you are alleging that the security agencies or any person has actually violated those rights that the Constitution has elaborately provided for, or threatened to violate it. You have a right to go to court in order to enforce the fundamental human right that has been provided for by the Constitution. And so the issue whether somebody can enforce his right, we have settled that you can. But again, it does not stop the security agencies, from investigating anyone who is alleged to have committed a crime. If somebody is alleged to have committed a crime, the security agencies is also authorized or empowered by the same Constitution to investigate, and if possible, if the person is culpable, prosecute. And so for the fact that you have rushed to court in order to enforce your fundamental human right when an alleged crime has been committed does not deter the security agencies from continuing the investigation and, if possible, prosecute you. Now, specifically with Binance matter, which you have asked me, I think if anyone has committed a crime, we have the proper security agencies that should handle it. I had thought that, anything that has to do with finance or financial crime should be handled by the EFCC. So I don't know the agency that is handling this Binance matter. I also understood that the issue of tax evasion. They were accused of multiple crimes that have been committed, and I had thought that it is EFCC that should handle, You know, I don't know whether he escaped, other man escaped from the custody of EFCC or any other security agency. I had thought that the EFCC should have done that and then ensure that proper investigation is done. But let me say this. Why most lawyers now and the accused person in Nigeria have now taken this pleasure most time on going to court to enforce their fundamental human right is because of something that is fundamentally defective in criminal investigation in Nigeria. And I've said it here, even on your television, that, look, before you rein in any person who is accused of a crime, in any civilized crime, society, what they do is that almost 80% of the investigation is almost completed. So when they bring you in, the next thing is to ask you questions whether you agree with what their findings have been on you, or you disagree. And then they charge you to court timelessly. But here, we have this pleasure in bringing in people and detaining them for days, for months, for weeks. And so it's now making lawyers now to, begin to feed their clients, that, every matter that you are invited on, please go to court first of all to enforce your fundamental human right. In other words, they are using the fundamental human right enforcement procedure to stall the investigation of any offense that has been alleged to have been committed. And so we must probably fine-tune our investigative system, ensure we employ science and technology in our investigation, and ensure that before you are arresting any person, you would have done almost 80% of your investigation, so that when you bring that person, you don't have the pleasure of detaining, that person indefinitely. You charge him to court timelessly, and so that we stop this issue of always rushing to court to enforce our fundamental human right when we are invited by security agencies. So I hope I've been able to make myself clear. So on this issue, you have a right to go to court to enforce your fundamental human right, but the court will also give the security agencies an opportunity to file their counter. And then they hear you on, you put the other party on notice so that they can also put up their counter of whatever you feel you are saying contrary to what the man who is alleging that his right has been violated is saying. After which the court now will give a judgment or a ruling concerning that application that has been brought before it. So the right is there, but we must not abuse it. We must also not allow security agencies to detain people indefinitely. These are my opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ubani. And like you've highlighted, this is a recurring issue. And we keep having conversations, especially around the investigations, the way that investigative authorities, such as the EFCC, conduct investigations, detain suspects, sometimes without a charge put in place. We've seen that a number of times come up. But I'd like to ask you, for the sake of clarity, are there extenuating circumstances whereby a suspect is detained, as in the case of the Binance gentleman, and a passport seized, despite the fact that in their claim, according to a statement made by them, and I'll just say that, they say the only reason for this detention is because the government is requesting information from Binance and making demands on the company. Are these grounds enough to detain and seize passports in the course of an investigation?
Yeah, if a security agency want to carry out an investigation over an alleged crime, they may want to restrict your movement. In fact, in the first place, they have a right to restrict your movement, and then take away anything that will actually aid your flight, including seizing your passport. They want an information concerning an investigation. Now, what you need to do is to cooperate with them in order to give an information. If you are not guilty, if you are not liable, you provide information, basic information. But as I said earlier, what happens in most societies, that I know, in terms of crime investigation, is that before they ask you to come in, they would have carried out thorough investigation of whatever their alleged crime is all about. They investigate it thoroughly. They go, length, gathering information, gathering evidences against you. So that when they are now asking you to come in, they are now asking you to come in order to answer to all whatever they have found out, in the course of their investigation, whether what they are, what they have stumbled upon is true or not. Because if they've established crime, what they are now asking you to do now is to come and deny or agree that this is what you have committed. So the next thing is that they will charge you to court. But my problem with our system here, and which we need to correct, and the security agencies also know what I'm talking about, that the most, times, they do not have any iota of knowledge of what they're investigating. They just, bring you in, and then now trying to now force you to admit to certain things, which ordinarily you would not want to incriminate yourself. So when you have not done what you are supposed to do, then they will now employ an orthodox method in order to extract what they call confessional statement. They can do a manner of things in order for you to agree that you have committed this crime. And that again is not a proper method of investigation in a modern, in a modern world. So I think that we should, try to really do certain things with our criminal investigation. We should employ more of technology. The investigation in the world today is technology-driven. This issue of manual investigation and then asking you to incriminate yourself, nobody does that. If you have done your work thoroughly, the only thing now is that you are now confronting that accused person with all your findings. This is what I found about you. This is what is against you. Do you agree to this or do you deny? After all that, the next thing is that the person is charged to court timelessly. Within a short time, you are arraigned before the court because they have gotten all they have needed. Or you enter into plea bargain. And that's why you see most cases end up in plea bargain. Because when the evidences are presented to the accused and they are so substantial, and you have no reason to deny, you agree, and then enter into plea bargain. So I think we should touch up the level of investigation. We should make it a bit more technology-driven so that it will aid us not to be detaining people indefinitely, because everyone that is accused of a crime under our law is presumed to be innocent. The Constitution presumes you innocent, and so that presumption is there. So don't detain somebody who we have not convicted, and you have no facts in order to actually convict that person indefinitely, because if you do that, you're already doing something that is contrary to the provisions of the Constitution. So lawyers will always aid them, advise them, go to court, enforce your rights. So that is what I'm. So whatever they have found against Binance or whatever they have, Binance should cooperate with them to give information. And if they found out that they have committed an offense, they have no reason not to charge them to court. Whether they are foreigners or whatever, they have breached our law. They must face the consequences of that. But going to court to just say, oh, I have not committed any crime. No, they are not the one to say that. It is the prosecutors that will now find out whether they have committed a crime, but they must do it within a reasonable time. That is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, Dr. Ubani, again, I will ask you to review the process that this has taken. You've made the point that, look, it's better as it's done in other jurisdictions to have a watertight case, a prima facie case, before anybody is detained. But here, they detain you first, and they keep using provisions in ACJA 2015 to just keep you almost indefinitely. But I wanted you to review the procedure so far. This was a matter of economic sabotage alleged by the government of Nigeria. Then the office of the NSA allegedly detained these people in a guest house. Is this standard procedure for persons who have been accused of serious criminal issues to be detained in a guest house? And for Anjawala, the man who escaped, who is now a fugitive, to even be allowed to go to mosque, and for security guards to escort him to the mosque until he disappeared with another passport that came from nowhere. That's one. Two, we understand that the EFCC has now taken over the matter. And yesterday, they started a case in court, a 5-count charge against this same man who is now asking for enforcement of his fundamental rights, and the fugitive that they have asked Interpol to help the Nigerian government look for. Any hope that Nigeria will be able to get that fugitive? But just a general review of what went wrong in the handling of this particular matter.
Yeah, I think sometimes our people here want to extend some, courtesies, when your skin is different from the normal skin. I don't know whether that guy is, I'm not sure he's a black man, and he's an American, I understand. And if a white man is alleged to have committed crime here in Nigeria, we always want to give them some level of special preference, in terms of treatment. If not, why would you detain somebody who is alleged to have committed such a heinous financial crime in a guest house? And then even according him the courtesy of going to go and pray. You and I know that we don't extend such courtesies to people who are alleged to have committed crime under our laws here. I've been in detention before, and I know that such courtesies, even though I'm a lawyer, it was not extended to me to go and pray privately and all that. We all do it together, with all other people who are inmates then in the cell. So why would you now want to detain somebody in the guest house who is alleged to have committed a crime in the forest? I think it's a procedural irregularity, It is clearly an error. And probably poor judgment, And they may not have meant it, to allow him to escape. They must have, they were doing it maybe to extend some level of courtesy. Oh, he's a big guy, the money involved is big, and these are billionaires and all that. That is what must have happened. But they were wrong, in the assessment. And then thinking that being a gentleman, there won't be any such, intention on his own part to fly. To take a flight. And look at what happened. He put the government into embarrassment. Even those who are extending the courtesies now are clearly embarrassed, by such courtesy extended to such a big man, in quote, who was arrested. And instead of put in detention and taking all necessary measures, including making sure that his passport's taken away, everything taken away, and even placed on red alert. But they extended all that courtesy. Look at the embarrassment that government has been faced now with that kind of behavior. I wouldn't like to stay here to condemn. They may have meant well in their mind. Oh, he's a very big guy. He can't do things that ordinary criminals will do. But the man has ended up, embarrassing the federal government. But the measures being taken now, in order to use Interpol to place him on red alert and get him, if possible, repatriated is clear measures. But it's an embarrassing situation. The handling was very poor judgment. And look at where that poor judgment has brought the government into and all that. Very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. We shouldn't give preferential treatment to any person who is alleged to have committed a crime. That's what I want to say. At any point in time, extend courtesies, but in extending courtesy, you must also maintain our law. Put them where they are supposed to be put. Give them the courtesy in investigation. Extract whatever you want to extract. That's the courtesy we'll extend. Not by beating them, not by being harsh on them, no. But make sure that you do the right thing that's supposed to be done in terms of putting them where they're supposed to be and then investigating them properly. That's my prescription. They were extended custody. Custody they extended now has brought them a lot of embarrassment. That's my review, Prof. Abati.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Whilst we begin to round off, I also like to ask for your review in terms of to just bring in the Nnamdi Kanu case as well. The court had ruled recently about and rejecting his application for bail. He's been on this journey for a while now, and I just want to touch on what you said in terms of, at all levels, whether international or local, it ought to be the same treatment meted out. Based on what we've seen with Nnamdi Kanu's case, what are the chances of the Binance gentleman's case, especially as they're also filing with regards to a protection of the human rights, the fundamental human rights?
As I said earlier, it won't stop the investigation to go on. They are carrying out the investigation and they have placed him, the man that is on the run on red alert. The Interpol will place him on red alert and get him, back into the country. But there's somebody that is already in detention. So when they finish the investigation and they have all the charges, framed up, they charge them to court and then try them expeditiously, and make sure that the law takes its course. Within Nnamdi Kanu's matter, which we have just alluded to, Nnamdi has been in detention for a very long time. And I feel that, look, a government that is interested in peace, and tranquility in the southeastern region, we look at that matter and try to find a solution. Let there be a political solution to Nnamdi. And I've said this several times, that if we begin to follow this matter and keep Nnamdi, in an indefinite detention and all, it's going to create more problem, for us. And I know that Tinubu's government is interested in peace. Attracting investors into the country is very critical. So let's have peace in the southeast. Let's have peace in the north. Let's have peace in the southwest. Now, anything that will bring unrest and bring crisis, any serious government will, try to avoid it. Now, there are criminals who are taking undue advantage of Kanu's detention and incarceration to unleash mayhem and cause most, economic problem in the southern eastern region. And I think that we have, pleaded with the government, release Nnamdi Kanu to very specific stakeholders in the southeastern region who are ready to take him on bail, and then tell him to allow peace to reign in that southern eastern region. Let the government do it. Without political solution, we keep on, going forth and back, in this matter, and the crisis keep on lingering. So I think that political solution, just like we have done with Showore's matter, Sunday's matter also, who was arrested even outside Nigeria, the man has come back to Nigeria. Let's try to create peace conducive environment, for investors to come, because we need to solve economic problem, part of which is creating security and a crisis-free country so that investors can come in. Political solution is key. Binance matter, let government, go ahead and get the man that has run away into the country and let us know what crime they have committed and go ahead and try them expeditiously. That's my prescription.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Monday Ubani, for joining us on the morning show.